From beautiful downtown Millheim, in the smack dab center of the Keystone State, this is Lou Bryson with Seen Through a Glass, a podcast that's mostly about food and drink in central Pennsylvania. Welcome to episode 45. I'd never even heard of Brookville. See, I have a confession to make. Everywhere we've been in the almost 2 years since I started the podcast has been somewhere I've been to before, even if briefly. I lived in Pennsylvania for all but 6 years of my life. We vacationed here when I was young. I've traveled all over the state writing 4 editions of a brewery guidebook over 12 years. And I have friends I've visited across the state. I've been to Normal Square, Snowshoe, Peach Bottom, Nantiglow, Mackinac City, Ulysses. But until I bought a bag of Humphrey's charcoal about 6 years ago, I'd never even heard of Brookville. I blame myself. I mean, the town has an exit on I-80. Then 2 things happened. I bought that bag of charcoal at Burkholder's Market right here in Millheim, and I saw that it was made in Pennsylvania. Berkey's tries to have as much local stuff as they can, and that intrigued me. And then Tim Bowser, the co-founder at Elk Creek Cafe, told me about a Chinese restaurant he'd been stopping at on his way back from his hometown of Corey up in the northwest corner. Really good, he said, right off the Brookville exit. I put Brookville on my list. And when I went out to get furniture on that same trip I told you about last episode, I stopped in Brookville too. Actually, I stopped on the way out and on the way back. There's a lot to see in Brookville. I hadn't planned to do the Brookville episode right after the Clarion episode. I like to spread the love around. And here's 2 town profiles that are less than 20 miles apart. However, I'm still sorting out my schedule after this summer's disruptions. I was able to get a 6-week extension on the book deadline, so maybe we will do an episode on what it's like to write a whiskey book here coming up. And our puppy Sammy is coming along, and while he's still a little crazy, at least we're getting more sleep. The upshot is, you're getting the Brookville episode because I've got it ready to go. I guess we don't really need a lot more reason than that. And please, feel free to suggest episode ideas. I have plenty, so your idea may already be on the list, but I know there's stuff I haven't thought of. But first, and I needed this, here's what I'm drinking today. It's something a bit different today. A sample from Bardstown Bourbon Company, one of their Origin Series bottlings, the new high wheat bourbon. Now, I'm sure you've heard of, maybe been entranced by, high rye bourbons. Bourbons that have a lower percentage of corn and a higher percentage of spicy, hard-edged rye in the mash. Bardstown cleverly stood this on its head, instead amping up the wheated bourbon paradigm of whiskeys like Maker's Mark, Weller, Larceny, and Old Fitzgerald, and of course, Van Winkle. This is whiskey with a 39% wheat mash, 53% corn, and 8% malt. It's a bold idea, curiously not done before, and I'm eager to try it. Let's go. So the whiskey, and it's a little light in color, but it's right in the mid-range of bourbon for color. It's at 106 proof, and the heat's there, but it's a light and spicy nose with some fruit there, almost like pear, and some spice from the wood. It just seems to me to be a level kind of nose, if that makes sense. Something solid and, I don't know, load-bearing? Almost like a table. I'm starting to wonder if I'm getting synesthesia here. Maybe I better have a sip. Oh my. That's smooth and rich. I wasn't really expecting a whiskey to be this full in the mouth, especially at 106 proof. There's a little bit of a character I think of as my grandfather's wood shop, which is to say a certain amount of fairly fresh cut wood, sweet wood, not necessarily dry seasoned stuff. And yet some fruitiness from maybe a cider pressing my grandfather had done, and nice warm cereal. There's a bit more spice in the finish, but the finish is pretty happy. It's not real grippy with oak. There's not a lot of harsh notes here. It's got authority at 106 proof, but it's not tearing out my lungs. That's pretty nice. I'm not sure if I would peg it as a high wheat. And I kind of wish I had opened up a bottle of Makers or something to run it alongside. But I think what's really catching me is the, I don't want to say viscosity, but it hangs in the mouth. And I like that. It's not quick. It's not sharp. It's almost soothing. Interesting experiment. And I hope somebody else picks that up or Bardstown does more with it. That's a good one. Now, before we get rolling on the episode, here's your smack dab in the center, sponsored by the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau. Well, it's apple season in Center County, and that means a trip to Way Fruit Farm is in order. For some, it's a family tradition almost as old as the farm itself. All right, that's an exaggeration. Way Fruit Farm dates back to 1,000 apple trees planted as a wedding gift in 1872. And they've been growing apples out in Port Matilda ever since, plus peaches and cherries, plums and pears. And it's coming up on Halloween, so you're probably going to want to pick up one of Way Fruit Farm's big orange pumpkins. I'm a bit of a jack-o'-lantern artiste myself. I'm going to have a look at what they've got. There's plenty of fruit, but the farm store also has good stuff from their bakery, local produce, and crafts from Pennsylvania artisans. If you're looking for gifts, groceries, or lunch at the Way Cafe, they're ready for you. And now there's breakfast on Saturdays, too. Go to the happyvalley.com website and find the Happy Valley Ag Ventures button with the black and white sheep picture. Click on through to a whole passel of farms. Way Fruit Farm is there, waiting. I'd been meaning to stop by Brookville ever since buying that bag of Humphrey's charcoal. I'm still using it, by the way. I just fired it up tonight. When the trip came up, I checked to see what was going on in town. Brookville is down off the exit from I-80, and I do not mean that in a colloquial sense. There's quite a steep drop as you head east on Main Street down to the Red Bank Creek. Take it slow and admire the brightly painted Victoria-era homes along the street. Brookville is noted for them. The first settler in Brookville was a Moses Knapp, who built a log cabin in 1801 at the confluence of the North Fork and Sandy Lick Creeks, where they become Red Bank Creek. Logs and the Red Bank Creek would be the future of Brookville. Timber barons floated the trees down the creek to the Allegheny River and on downstream to Pittsburgh. There were coal mines, a couple of breweries, the railroad came to town. Brookville was a regional center of industry, and there were railroad shops here. The world's first 4x4 automobile was invented and built here by Robert Twyford, a solid idea that came close to success, but it would have to wait for someone with a better business sense. Now, you can tell by those fine homes that business was good for a while. The timber and coal gradually dwindled, although it never did disappear. And Brookville still has railroad shops. The Brookville Equipment Company, founded in 1918, makes and repairs trams, streetcars, and shunting locomotives. It's pretty cool to have something that industrial in one of these small towns. But, it's not what I went to Brookville for. Though I did want to see the replica of the Twyford 4x4 at the Jefferson County Historical Museum. I missed it because of a scheduling problem, but I did get to see automotive history in Brookville because Dr. Stephen Greenberg was good enough to let me stop by his Cadillac Museum. Steve is a retired eye surgeon, and his career has allowed him to indulge his love of Cadillacs. There are over 70 Caddies in his collection, including the car built around Cadillac engine number 20 from very early in the company's history. Cadillacs represented not just luxury, or even excess, but innovation often at the forefront of automotive technology. There are old and new Cadillacs. There's a World War II staff model, convertibles, custom-built touring cars from the 1920s. Dr. Steve was working on the interior lights of one of those when I arrived. But the stories that caught my imagination at Greenberg's Cadillac Museum were the ones about the families who donated Mom's Cadillac or Uncle Frank's Cadillac or their brother's Cadillac because they just couldn't bear the thought of selling it. Steve restores them with original parts and paint as much as possible and gives these cars a home. And then, he tells me, families will come back and visit the car and sit in it and tell stories about their loved ones. That's why he calls it Cadillac Heaven. Check their website for the hours. They're a bit eccentric, but as Robert Earl Keen sings it, closest thing to heaven is this great big Cadillac. You wouldn't want to miss that. Now, I don't usually talk about individual restaurants that aren't something unique or that are focused on a food I particularly like barbecue or Texas hot dogs or some kind of out-of-the-ordinary pizza. But I am going to tell you about the Moon Palace Chinese restaurant just off the exit in Brookville. As I mentioned earlier, Tim Bowser told me about it. He was coming through there on trips home from Millheim and noticed there were semis parked in the lot. Over-the-road truckers often know where the good eats are, he reasoned, so he tried it. And then he told me about it. You know, he said, the next time you're out along I-80, there's a surprisingly good Chinese place just off the exit from Brookville. And that recommendation is the real reason I even looked into Brookville for this episode. I had to stop. Look, I gotta be honest, Moon Palace doesn't look very special, inside or out. The greeter was grudgingly welcome, but the older waitress was very pleasant indeed. I ordered a shrimp egg roll and one of my favorite dishes, Singapore Mei Fun. The shrimp egg roll was crisp and hot, not covered in grease. The vegetables were clean and steamed just right. The shrimp was tasty, not overcooked. Better than most egg rolls, but hey, it's still just an egg roll. The Mei Fun, which, by the way, is probably originally from Hong Kong, not Singapore, is thin, stir-fried rice noodles with egg, shrimp, and barbecued pork with crisp vegetables seasoned with curry powder. It should have lots of flavors and a bit of heat from the curry. The Moon Palace Singapore Mei Fun seemed more rustic than what I'm used to getting back in Philly and in State College. The chunks of egg and shrimp were bigger, rough cut, and the noodles were a bit more robust, but they also didn't stick together like they often do. Every noodle was separate. How good was it? Well, about a third of the way through the dish, I decided that the barbecue I was planning to get at Devil's Barbecue, my next stop, was going to be a takeout order. I was not going to stop eating that dish of fresh, hot, curried noodles. Look, don't expect Moon Palace to be better than San Francisco Chinatown. It's not. But, much like Kavkaz, the Georgian restaurant off the Loganton exit of I-80, and we got to go back there too, it's good. Moon Palace is a reminder that you do not have to survive on Sheetz and KFC while you're running across northern central PA. Make a note of it. Of course, then I got to Devil's Barbecue and smelled it and looked at the menu: brisket, ribs, turkey, pork, smoked mac and cheese, smoked cheesecake, and I regretted eating all that Mei Fun. But only a little. I talked to owner Rob Hetrick. He's not a restaurant guy, not at all, but he always liked smoking meats at home, and, well, hell, I get that. So when he lost his job in the mid-20-teens, he decided to open a barbecue place. I almost wish I didn't get that as much as I do, because some days that sounds pretty great. Devil's Barbecue is just off Main Street in an old tire store with some picnic tables. The walls are covered in metal antiques, some painted, some not, all a little bit rusty and 100% real. The meat is smoked every day, and Rob told me to not overlook the turkey. It was a big favorite. And the spicy white sauce, don't miss that. And the pulled pork is really good. So, I just wound up getting a sampler with extra meat, with the smoked baked beans and potato salad, and the spicy white sauce, and the horseradish sauce, and the hot vinegar sauce. It tempted me the whole 2-hour drive home, but I didn't have it till the next day. The turkey and that spicy white sauce were great, Turkey was not dry. The spicy white sauce was not gummy sticky. It was delicious. The pulled pork, exceptional with the hot vinegar sauce. The ribs had just the right chew. I don't really like fall off the bone ribs. I don't think it lets you gnaw properly. The potato salad was good. The beans, maybe a bit disappointing. I knew I should have got the smoked cheesecake. Devil's Barbecue definitely ranked up with the top 5 barbecue places I've been to since moving to Central PA, and I would return. I made one more stop in Brookville at the Dan Smith Candy Shop. There used to be a lot of these candy shops around. They're dwindling, but Dan Smith is doing just fine. Everyone I talked to around Brookville mentioned it with pride. I was munching on the signature selection box I got while I was writing this, and they should be proud. Peanut butter meltaways, chocolate-covered cashews, chocolate caramels. Even the white chocolate was good, and I don't even like white chocolate. Dan Smith originally made his name on ice cream, selling it off his back porch starting in 1946. He started making candy in 1953, and the family ran the business until 2015, when the Scarnati family bought it. They've expanded, with candy store locations in Ridgeway, Indiana, PA, Clarion, and DuBois. The shops smell fantastic, and the seasonal candies, like the pumpkin fudge, are so good. If you've never been to a proper candy store, you owe yourself this. Like almost everything else in Brookville, just a couple minutes off the exit. There was one other place I wanted to go in Brookville, but I couldn't get to it because I had to leave before it opened. That's Dirty Irma's Cronerside Tavern, a celebrated dive bar. I'm not sure if it was so intriguing because of Dirty Irma's or Cornerside. Is it on the corner or is it on the side? I'm going to have to go back and find out. If you were wondering if I'd forgotten the interview, I haven't. But for a change, I wanted to tell you all about the town first. I did go to Blackbird Distillery, which is north of the exit, literally 2 minutes off I-80 if you catch the red light right. Blackbird is one of the moonshine distilleries that pepper the Appalachians, and to be honest, not that interested in most of them. A lot of these places are what we call rectifiers. They buy alcohol and then proof it and add flavors to it. They might redistill it with a single pass through a still so they can say they made it. I mean, okay, but that's like the cooking at TGI Fridays. But at Blackbird, they actually make the shine from corn. Not sugar, corn, Jennifer Black reminded me. So I was interested. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a look at the actual distillery. They recently expanded, and the new facility was days from being inspected, so everything was locked up. So, okay, we sat down in the Bird's Nest, their tasting room, and chatted. Jennifer's worked in radio, so she's no stranger to a microphone. Didn't need to edit much of this. Hey, I'm here with Jennifer Black. She and David Black are the owners of Blackbird Distilling in Brookville. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And we're located right in Brookville, right off the interstate.
Yeah, I mean, it took me, I think, a minute and a half to get here after getting off the interstate.
Right. It's very, very, very convenient.
And yet, I mean, we're in the woods already.
That's how, it's funny how it all began, but we live right behind the distillery. So
okay.
When we started doing this, he started making whiskey years ago.
Well, happens. But, I mean, why are you here in Brookville? I mean, you've always been here? Or?
No, my husband's from Brookville, and my husband, David, he was a welder for the electric company. He worked in a power plant.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he built a still.
Of course he did.
Okay, years and years ago.
Yeah.
And actually, we have it in our store here. And so he started making whiskey many, many years ago, just as a hobby. Mm-hmm. And that's how it began. And then in 2011, when one of our sons graduated, we took him to Florida to go to college. We were driving down the highway, and we stopped at West Virginia because he saw a sign off the interstate that said moonshine.
Oh, okay.
So we went back this road, and it was several miles, like you literally were going into the deep neck of the woods to get whiskey. Uh-huh. Okay? Get there, and it was a beautiful distillery, and we were there. They had wine, beer, and distilling spirits, etc. Came back, and my husband went on the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board site and saw they were offering distilling licenses.
Yep.
So he said, well, let's open up a distillery.
What else would you think immediately, right?
And so I said, well, how about we research it first? So we went to 3 distilleries, one in Florida, back to the one in West Virginia, and one in New York.
Okay.
And we met with the owners and asked them if we could replace his income. That's all the intention was, is to replace his income because if you know anything about welding in a power plant, it's a very, very hard job. Very excruciating, very hot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they said that, you won't believe it. So we applied for the license, which is, some dollars. And my husband also has his ATF license, which is for your fireworks, firearms, et cetera. License.
Oh, okay.
So after they came and inspected and making sure we weren't going to blow people up, we were issued the license. Now, at that point, we had no building, no nothing. We didn't have anything.
Wow.
We just had the license.
Okay.
Then we started building our building and made a tasting room, and we opened up on March 24th of 2014.
Okay.
So we got our license in June or July of 2013. So technically we were Blackbird Distillery in 2013, but we had to build a building.
Right.
And we built a building, and we started with 9 whiskeys. That was it.
Okay.
And my husband and I thought him and I could do it ourselves with no sales executives, and we learned very quickly within about a week and a half
Oh, wow.
that we needed to do this and get more staff. So we hired some staff, friends of the family and stuff, college students, all. We've been very fortunate of having some great, great, wonderful, honest workers here. I mean, fabulous workers. And then we didn't realize it was going to take off this big. So we had just the building, and then we put a front porch on. That was our first expansion. Then the second expansion was the back room for storage.
Okay.
And before we opened as well, to add to the whiskey, we started making homemade canned goods.
Oh, okay.
So my father-in-law, he's retired, so he started making canned goods. So we had this when we all opened. So you could come in, you could get some whiskey, do a tasting, come and get some barbecue sauce, pickles, wing sauces, mustards. To add to that as well, we made our own homemade bologna, beef and pork.
Wow, okay.
All made here, smoked.
Uh-huh.
We have all of our own cheese. It smokes, and when they come in, it's like this little, kind of like a little Godsey from the Walton's store.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
That's how I kind of look at it. If you're a Walton's fan.
Right.
I was a big Walton's fan. But so then we did that was our second expansion, was the back room. Well, in March of 2020, we were going to do our new building to do tours. And that's an 8,000 square foot production facility. Then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So we held off, and we started it then in 2022. And we've just completed it. As of today, we're waiting for the final inspections, and then we're going to be able to take folks through tours to see how we make it all by hand with no machines.
And that's the big building right next to us here.
Right next to us, yes. The building that we're in, this is where it started. We had our mash tuns upstairs. We mashed it by hand. It went into the fermenters by hand. And at the bottom of the fermenters, and the fermenter's like a funnel. You turn the lever, and those were upstairs in the building we're sitting at. It came down through gravity. And the stills were sitting right here where you and I are sitting
Okay.
at. We are now sitting in the new Bird's Nest. It's a seating lounge area for people to have munchies and foods. That's where we're sitting right now, but this is where the stills were. And then this room was all production.
Okay.
None of this was here. Filled with boxes of alcohol, all under there. The production was right there. The big bulk tanks were behind you where we put the alcohol in after it's distilled. So that's how it all got started.
Okay.
That gives you, you told you I will talk forever if you keep asking me questions.
That's okay. That's all right. There are, and you've already touched on this, there's a lot of moonshine places in Pennsylvania. Usually I'm not interested because most of them are just buying bulk grain spirit and then proofing it and adding flavors and yada.
Right.
Might redistill it one pass so they could say they did.
Right. Exactly.
You're doing the whole thing from mash to distillation, and I have to ask why. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of
because that's what the authentic moonshine was. Moonshine originated in Washington, Pennsylvania, down by Pittsburgh. All right.
Whiskey Rebellion.
Whiskey Rebellion. And I tell people it originated there, and it originated with corn. And back in the day, they made it by hand. And my husband and I, to stick with the authenticity and showing our customers, we make it all by hand. It's a craft. It's an art. We're not just out there to try to make $1 off of you. We want to show you that this is an actual art. A lot of places don't want to do it that way. And I mean, when I say all by hand, we even handwrite every proof because back in the day, every batch was a different proof.
Every batch is different, sure.
So to stick with that, we changed the proofs every 45th to show the folks this is really how it's made. Many places you'll look at their label, it's printed off, 60 proof, 80 proof, etc. Ours, we do it all by hand. And that means, you're going to get a different proof.
Every batch is every batch.
Yeah, and you have to make it drinkable.
Sure.
Okay, I mean, my current high test. Our high test is straight whiskey out of the still, not cut.
And that's literally what's on the label. It says high test,
It says
right?
high test.
Yes,
Yep.
okay.
And we don't let people sample that here.
Okay.
Okay. That's called Blackbird's High Test. It's currently right now was 177 proof. So whatever comes out, we bottle it. That's where it starts. Then we cut it to make it drinkable. You're not going to drink 177 proof of peach whiskey.
No.
And enjoy it.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Right. The enjoying is the important part.
That's the key.
Yeah.
So we cut it to make it, drinkable. And we have another Blackbirds. We call it, Blackbird Straight. Mm-hmm. That one's like the high test, but that one's cut. So it's somewhat drinkable. Some people want to taste real corn whiskey.
Sure.
That one's currently around 110, 112.
Oh,
proof.
okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We recommend to taste that last, but they want to taste it without a flavor.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have other ones that we make. What's like a bourbon. We age whiskey.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. What's the barrel? What's the?
Well, the barrels are right there beside you.
Okay.
They're 5-gallon barrels.
Okay.
And we age that for our regular American for at least 100 days, and then it goes in clear. Then it comes out colored because they're charred oaked. They're 5 gallons, so you can do it quickly. Mm-hmm. We haven't.
Can I ask where you're getting them? Who's the cooper?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's my husband's part.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm in charge of selling and all the other stuff. My son's in charge of production, but my husband does a lot of the ordering. I don't know, but it's been the same place forever since we've opened. But we age it for at least 100 days, and we have another American. It's called the American 120. That one's aged longer, and it's currently 124 proof. We call it the 120 because it's over 120 proof.
Okay.
So those are like a bourbon. On my labels, it says charred oak. I'm only allowed to tell you it's like a bourbon. Okay?
Yep.
Then we make another one called Blackbird's Platinum. That's like a vodka. Again, I'm only allowed to tell you it's like a vodka. It's run through a charcoal filter.
Okay.
People really, really love it. And then we have 40 some other whiskey flavors that we make here.
Okay. The flavors, how are you flavoring them? And
they're all natural flavors. So after we distill it and my son cuts it and makes it drinkable, then they're just a natural flavor that's added afterwards. That's real simple. No fruit or anything like that's involved. And there's no color like some people. People ask me why is Frank goes such and such or blue or black. And I don't know what they're using, but we just use a clear, natural flavor.
And how do you pick the flavors? I mean, you have so many.
I know. I don't pick the flavors.
Okay.
Okay. My son and my husband usually pick the flavors. I mean, we get a lot of requests. I used to have a sheet hanging up for recommendations, what you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Some of them were crazy. People wanted us to make beet whiskey, bacon whiskey, rhubarb whiskey. And of course, we chose not to do any of this because, you get a lot of different ideas. So we try to make them, something simple. Your normal, lemon, blackberry, black cherry, peach, pineapple. And then we have some real rare ones, chocolate strawberry, chocolate banana, orange creamsicle, and people like them. And then we make cocktails for them. Mm-hmm. And we also sell that to bars too. Bars and restaurants, if they have a liquor license, they purchase our whiskey. And then they make all kinds of drinks out of it.
I mean, it seems like a natural. You've already got the flavor there.
Yeah, it's very simple and it's unique, especially for destination places, where, like you said, there's so many distilleries. And, we were the first real more moonshine corn whiskey.
You've been in this a while.
Yeah, and then other places decided to open up and make a different product. Or, like you said, they buy it. They maybe run it, or some of them don't run it.
Some of them don't run it,
Yeah, I've had people tell me they've seen stills in locations that have never run. I don't know. It's just what customers tell me.
Yeah. And you serve cocktails here?
Yes, we have a tasting room in the same building that we're currently in, and there's a tasting room. You can come in and get samples, and you're allowed 5 samples. They're free of charge. And then we have opened up the Bird's Nest. It's in the same building. It's where the production used to be, and we serve munchies, hors d'oeuvres here, like, dips and nano bread, pretzel bites. And then we have cocktails too, plus our slushies are huge.
Okay.
We have slushies for kids, and they're non-alcoholic, of course.
Yeah.
And for adults, because a lot of kids we get a lot of families here.
Sure.
And, they want a slushie and they were excited to have it. So, yeah, we do a lot here. Plus, we sell our whiskeys and drinks. We also have Pennsylvania beers. We're only allowed to sell a Pennsylvania-made product. We can't sell any type of beer unless it's made in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great part of Pennsylvania liquor law.
Right.
It's really good for everybody.
Great. Right.
Yeah. You also do cream liqueurs. How are those made?
Well,
I'm sorry, you're not production. So.
Well, no, I know the simple version when I tell my customers. It's our shine. It's with cream and rum.
Okay.
So it's just a different mixture that my son does. And there's orange creamsicle, coconut, apple dumpling, iced coffee, key lime, and Ivory Coast, which is a fancy name for chocolate.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard that, but
no.
But my husband wanted to use the word Ivory Coast.
Okay.
But the cream liqueurs are huge, very, very, very popular.
I'll bet.
And on the rocks, some people mix it with different sodas, or a lot of them just drink it on the rocks. They're very popular.
Yeah, and I don't think a whole lot of people are doing it in Pennsylvania. It's probably
right. And I go to some of these wine place walks. I don't do a lot of them because we just don't have the time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like opening up a pop-up store. And I don't need to. We have a huge facility here. We'll be opening up the tours soon, and that'll be a great attraction for families that they can actually see how we do it. But when I do go, I just take the cream liqueurs. So simple. I would take different whiskeys. Like we have obviously our last name's Black, so our signature whiskey is Apple Black. We make drink mixes here. We make an apple pie drink mix. We make an orange creamsicle drink mix, and we make a Bloody Mary drink mix. And I would mix Apple Black with my apple pie drink mix, because sometimes you get light drinkers in here. So we actually give them their samples that way.
Okay.
They don't want to drink something at 70-some proof, but I mix it for them so they can actually like lemon.
So these are liquid mixes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was picturing like a powder or something.
No, we can it here. Make it here. And like if you want to try lemon drop and you tell me I'm a light drinker, what I do is I mix it with lemonade.
Oh,
as give you a sample, or like lemon drops great with lemonade or iced tea, just for example.
Sure.
Because so many people buy so much of it, but they make a cocktail out of it. They're just not drinking it straight.
Right.
There's those customers that do, but
Oh, I'm sure, yeah, but no, I mean, it sounds like a mixer to me. I mean, I was looking at a lot of this stuff. I've got a home bar I just opened, and I have a seltzer tap, and I'm just thinking that it'd be a natural. I think these would make great highballs, almost like, I don't know, hard soda.
Right, yeah. People, we're very, very thankful that they enjoy it and they like it, and they patronized us, 10 years we've been here.
Yeah, I didn't realize you'd been open that long. That's great.
And we're open every day but Christmas. That makes it very convenient for customers.
Yes, and hours?
Hours are 9 to 5, Monday through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays 9 to 8.
Okay, that's easy enough.
Every day for Christmas. I mean, Thanksgiving. I know it kind of sounds crazy, but this is the hunting capital.
Oh,
PA.
sure.
A lot of travelers, a lot of hunters, men and women that come and they get their supplies. Sometimes just not the whiskey. They come in and grab barbecue sauces, wing sauces, mustards, smoked cheese. We have a variety of all kinds of cheeses that we do here, and people love the smoky flavor besides the bologna and stuff. But you get a lot of people. We have a lot of customers that don't drink at all. They just love our homemade stuff.
Okay.
And they really patronize, a small business owner.
Sure, that's great. I mean, that's what we're all about on the podcast for sure. Yeah.
And we're in liquor stores in Pennsylvania. Not all of them. Okay, we're in Pittsburgh, Altoona, State College, Clearfield, Clarion, Du Bois, Cranberry, over by Oil City, Franklin, Meadville. And with the liquor store, you don't go, and I don't go to see you, Lou, at the liquor store in Center County. You're the manager. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
They contact you by email and say, we want this flavor to this flavor, and we need it to go to this store. And that's how you do it.
Yeah.
You don't go and sell them anything. You know. A lot of clients go to their liquor store and request it to the managers. And say, can you get Blackbird Distillery stuff in here?
Sure.
But you don't go sell them. They reach out to you and say, we want your products and we'd like them here. So, and we're in Erie. So, which is great. Obviously people like it.
Yeah.
If you're in some liquor stores.
Yes. And they've got to be asking. One question, the moonshine. I mean, technically, I guess moonshine is illegal. The usual thing. I guess I'm wondering why you went with moonshine.
Well, that's because my husband, was making it, and now that there's so many places, because remember, moonshine was just a word. It's when they made illegal whiskey under the light of the moon.
Yeah.
So I tell folks, they come in and they're like, I never had moonshine. And I say, have you ever had whiskey? And they say, yeah. I go, but then you've had moonshine. Maybe not corn-based, but you've had moonshine.
Yeah.
But, that's just when he started making it, and now you've got, tons of different moonshine distilleries, like, the people that are trying to tag along. So, we're basically, obviously sticking with that, but really educating people, understanding that it's a corn whiskey.
It is corn-based.
It's corn-based,
okay.
All corn-based, not sugar-based.
Okay.
So that's what I try to explain to folks. And we do have one rye.
Okay.
We have one rye that we age.
Uh-huh.
Everything else here is all corn-based, but one that's rye-based.
Okay.
So it seems to work out good for us, and we've got a huge following, which we're very thankful, because our repeat's very, very phenomenal.
Good. That's great.
That's
what
what's
you gotta
great.
have.
It's just not like you coming in here once and, the traffic off Interstate 80 is amazing. I mean, I never realized in my life when we opened the thousands of people. I mean, we get them from all over. New York, New Jersey, Michigan is a huge state for us.
And to be honest, it's not like there's a lot of attractions through here other than the great outdoors.
Yeah. And so I'm working right now with the process to get the signs off the interstate exits. You had to have a touring facility. That's why we built the touring facility. So I'm working with them now to get those signs up. So when you get off the interstate, it'll tell you where to go. Now you came, it's very simple instructions, very easy.
Take a right, take a left.
Take a right, take a left, or take a left, take a right. It's real simple. And kind of what's fitting for us is that when we went to the one distillery in West Virginia and you were going back this road, you kind of notice when you're coming back the road to my distillery, it's not like on the main highway.
No.
It's called Mapleville Road, but you turn at Mapleville Road and you're going back going, okay, where am I going?
Yeah, it gets pretty narrow pretty quick.
Yeah, but the giant truck at the end of my drive.
That's a giveaway.
Yeah, it's a big giveaway.
So I did just say that there isn't much here, but there is stuff in Brookville. What other things can people do when they're here?
We have a lot of independent family businesses. We've got Dan Smith Candies. It's been a candy company for over, I don't know exactly, over 50, 60, maybe 70 years. And then we have a lot of family-owned businesses downtown. We've got the Drip Coffee House. These are just little independent places. You got A&M Restaurant. I don't want to leave anybody out. You got King Crunch, but these are all family businesses, Buffs, all kinds of fun little places to go to. We have a really awesome park called Scripture Rocks.
Okay.
And it's in Brookville, and the Historical Society of Jefferson County takes care of it. And it's actually a man that did scriptures on rocks, and they
carved them?
Carved them.
And wow.
And you have a park that you go down into the woods, and you see the scripture rocks, and you can read the scriptures on the rocks. And then, of course, we have Cook Forest, which is huge. You got Farmer's Inn Restaurant. You got Dommy's Pizza. You got Cousin Basil's, Clarion River Lodge, Gateway Lodge. And this is a huge tourist attraction for cabins and camping, hiking, all kinds of fun things for people to do. I mean, we get people coming every year. They stop every year since we've been open. Families of 40 people.
Wow.
Yeah, that they get cabins. And they all set up, and they're there. And they come, and this is their destination once a year to stock up. And they may be from New York, New Jersey, Michigan.
Right.
Even we get a lot of people from Pittsburgh too.
Oh, okay.
Because people, it's so funny. I mean, I'd love to live in Pittsburgh, right downtown on Penn Avenue.
Yeah.
And all the people from Pittsburgh would love to live up here.
Yeah. No, it's a great place. I love coming out here. That's about all I got.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving Blackbird Distillery the opportunity to talk about our distillery. We appreciate it, and people can stop out anytime. Again, we're open every day but Christmas, so it's pretty simple.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Lou. Have a great week.
Thank you. You too. We did go out and taste some spirit after that. I had a couple of the flavored shines just to see how the flavors were. They were good, natural tasting. The high test, well, yep, clean and fierce. And the whiskey was not bad. I'd like to see it with another couple years on it. So I had some good times in Brookville. You can also ride or hike the Red Bank Valley Trail, a rail trail that starts right there in town and follows the Red Bank Creek 50 miles to the Allegheny River with a nice, easy 1% grade and 2 tunnels. And, like Clarion, Brookville offers close access to the Cook Forest State Park with its spectacular groves of old-growth trees. I'm pretty glad Tim stopped for Chinese that day. That's right, it's Oktoberfest season. Some Central PA breweries have already rolled out the barrels of Oktoberfest beer, and some fests are this weekend. So get your dirndls and your Alpenhoots out. It's time to oompa and shoeplaten. For all of these fests that I'm going to tell you about, just search the venue on Oktoberfest, and you will find all the information you need. Now, there are 4 events this Saturday, September 21st. Shy Bear's Oktoberfest with German food and beer all day, and the legendary AAA Blues Band in the evening is happening just outside of Lewistown. How about Johnstown? Well, from 1 to 9 at Stonebridge Brewery with food, beer, and live music from 2 bands. Out in Indiana, PA, there's a fest from 3 to 6 downtown with beer from all over the area, including homebrew. Good eats, too. That's a ticketed event, so you'll need to Google that right now. And here's someplace Stag has got to get to. Chambersburg is running Punktoberfest, featuring live music with Central PA's own Dinosaurs in Paris. Good grub, fest beer, and pumpkin beers. Okay, next weekend. Friday, September 27th, there's an event in State College at Tussey Mountain with a beer garden, plenty of good Eastern European eats, and live oompa music starting at 5:30. Over in Harrisburg, there's a Trogs Oktoberfest party at the Mad Moose Tavern with Trogs beers and more German eats. It's an easy call there. The Moose is a good time. Then the next day, Saturday, September 28th, there's no competition. You've got to come to the Milheim Oktoberfest at the Fire Company grounds. It's a benefit for the Milheim Fire Company. I'll be working the brats on the grill again, so stop by, get some good grub and great Elk Creek Oktoberfest. I'll try to have some stickers for the show, too, so if you see me, say hi. The next day, Sunday, September 29th, our new friends at Clarion River Brewing are having beers and German food with a Steelers game on the TV. How can you beat it? With live music afterwards. Okay, then the next weekend is October 4th and 5th, Friday and Saturday, and Mifflinburg throws their great small-town Oktoberfest on both days with music, Maßkrugstemmen, that's the German word for the Steinholding contest, keg tossing, and lots of great food and beer. There are also a limited number of beautiful ceramic mugs available. Get a ticket early to be sure you can score one of these prized yearly collectibles. Down in Harrisburg, Boneshirt Brewworks has their Pigtoberfest on Saturday, October 5th, with live music, more Maßkrugstemmen, and of course, lots of sausages. The last celebration I know of in Central PA is on October 10th, when our friends at the Knickerbocker Tavern in Altoona are having an Oktoberfest dinner with 4 draft Oktoberfest beers and German grub, and those guys do know how to lay out a table. Okay, celebrate, and remember, real Germans know that the real music of Oktoberfest is Bob Denver's Country Roads. 1, 2, 3, Zuffa! That's the show. Thanks to Jennifer Black for the interview. It's always good to work with a pro. As always, you can find pictures for this episode on Instagram at Stag Podcast and on Facebook at Seen Through a Glass. If you're listening to the show on the radio at WSOV, there are over 40 more episodes to enjoy, including a Milheim episode and a Nittany Valley episode at seenthroughaGlass.podbean.com. That's Podbean, Podbean.com. Or you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to toss a bit in my hat to keep the show going, I have a coffee button in my Instagram link tree, that's at Stag Podcast, and on the Facebook page. It's an easy way to drop me a few bucks online to help keep this going. And to those of you who recently donated, thank you. The Susquehanna River is considered the oldest major river system in the world. There's evidence that the ancient Susquehanna predates the formation of the Appalachian Mountains over 300 million years ago. Now, the next episode is probably going to be about what it's like writing a book about whiskey and doing promotional videos about drinking whiskey and maybe some meat smoking I did recently. I'm hoping to get that to you in 2 weeks, but don't hold me to it. We'll be back to normal in time for the second anniversary show, which is the day before my book deadline. No problem. Until then, thanks for listening. This is Lou Bryson on Seen Through a Glass from the smack dab center of the Keystone State.